to this comp. Hey, Alex, what's up?
Hello, good morning. Now it's morning when we are recording.
Yep, morning in Spain, morning in Latvia, night at our beloved USA.
Yep.
So what's on today's agenda? Let's talk about.
Like one of the questions that you got in your, by the way, congratulations on getting to 20K on Twitter. So that was the main thing that we got this question. So 20K on Twitter, how does that feel?
It feels just as other numbers, but yeah, I don't know. Definitely different than first K and first 10K. Now it's more like just it's whatever. But yeah, the question was actually, just to keep this on point, what do you do to get in your creative zone? So I don't know, I can maybe start, Alex, and then you can add what do you do to get in your creative zone, or maybe you don't. I don't know.
I do, but I probably don't have like a super set like way of doing things, but I do have a couple of things that help me. So you get started and then I will comment probably.
Yeah, well, for me, I have a couple of ideas on this one. It's that the core idea, what I do to get in my like creative space and to actually produce creative work and so on, one of the core concepts that I'm doing is that I'm trying to like tune up my awareness during the day, and I just take a lot of notes, not notes, but mostly ideas. I have an idea, I have some thought, I have some weird like struggle feeling, whatever. I will mostly note it down. I will go through Twitter, I will read a book, I will listen to a podcast, whatever somebody says something interesting that triggers something in me, or just I thought, oh my God, that's interesting. Oh, that's clever. Oh, I could use this one in one of my other ideas that I have. This could complement that idea. I note down all those ideas always. That is the most important thing, because then when I sit down at my laptop and I want to create something or do something, I might have in mind that I will work on this thing today, but most of the time my schedule is very free and I can just work on a lot of different things. Most of the time I can just kind of pick whatever I fancy for that day. And then I have tons of ideas that I can kind of just scroll by and choose. And most of the time I feel and vibe with some of those ideas, and then I can just pick that idea and continue to work with it. So that's kind of the core concept that helps me to get creative, because I think what's the struggle for most people is that they think they will sit and they will zone out, and then awesome ideas will come and you will get in your zone, and that's another. The second thing is actually to kind of block distractions. Like I recently started to use some, I think the application is called One Focus on Mac, where you can just kind of disable Twitter, disable Instagram, disable YouTube, and use it like a Pomodoro timer. So I set, I don't know, time for 45 minutes, or sometimes just it's shorter, and it kind of blocks out those websites. So because it's easy to get distracted, and then you never really start to focus on work. And that's kind of helps, because you need to you need to put in the time to actually get in some sort of zone. It's just similar as Carl Newport talks in his book about deep work and so on. But yeah, those are two basically core concepts. Nothing fancy. Note down a lot of ideas. Then when you sit down and you want to work on something, you have tons of things to choose from, and just try to disable distractions and then just work on it. And okay, last point actually I wanted to add here is that sometimes you just scroll by through all of your ideas and nothing really clicks, and you don't really feel like it, and you don't want, most of the time that's just, I don't know, you don't want to work, and then it's better for me to go for a walk and just completely change context and not really try to squeeze something out from myself. So yeah, those are kind of my couple of notes on this topic. What about you, Alex?
I guess the first thing is that you can't really schedule creativity. So it's not like, okay, so you have this 1 hour block and then you sit down and ideas start to flow. So that's super hard to do. So for me, it's super similar in the sense that I need a lot of inputs to get ideas, right? So inputs come in form, as you said, like podcast, YouTube videos, I don't know, tweets even, newsletters. So I need a lot of inputs before I come up with ideas, because for me it's super hard to create from a blank page. So in that sense, we are super similar. And then one thing that I tried to do early on was that I was super like trying to have like a super fancy note-taking system, something like that, where you so this idea, and then it goes into my super elaborate Notion file or whatever, and it takes me, I don't know. So that was super useless. And then I got actually inspired when I saw your own, like when you showed us back in your course when you did one office hours, you showed us like where you take your notes as like visual ideas, and everything was super messy, but messy like in a good way, So that's one thing that I thought, okay, so you don't really need to have like an order in place and super fancy system and everything should be classified. You can, just like have all of just have a place where all of your ideas are, and then just take a look at them and see what pops up in your mind. So I think that's the key, I guess. So having this vault or whatever you want to call it of ideas, and then just go there from time to time when you need, or when you need, when you feel creative, and go there and see, okay, this is clicking something in my mind. So that's one thing I learned from you, and that's something that I actually started applying, and it works. So
yeah, embracing the chaos, that's huge for me.
Yeah.
It was, because I was, for years I was in this kind of that I had that feeling that everything needs to be like labeled and organized, and that will be better. It's, I don't know, for some people it might work, definitely not for me. I feel really great that I have this chaos, but just main thing is just to note them down, so there are somewhere. But by the way, how it's for you? And because I mostly create visuals, it's a bit different. You do quite a lot of threads, you do your newsletter quite regularly, that actually takes a couple of hours for you to create. How it's for that? Is it like, okay, now I will sit for 2 hours and I will create my newsletter, or you have like rough draft already in place and then you kind of just polish things? How's that going on for you?
So there is two parts to it. So there is the part of drafting and putting the idea down in paper. So whenever I come up with an idea, maybe I'm scrolling through Twitter and I read one tweet and this like sparks an idea. So my first impulse is to like write down whatever it comes. Like, I don't care about shape, I don't care about format, just put it down. And then maybe an hour later, 2 hours later, or even days later, then I come back to that idea and edit. So it's like writing works kind of like this. So you first need to put like everything out, and then the true writing, that's, some people say that the true writing is editing. It's not like really writing. It's like the editing part is where the true writing comes. So that's how I do it. Like every time I come up with an idea, I write it down, like super rough draft, like just vomit basically everything that is in your mind. And then maybe a few minutes or hours later, or whatever, just come back with a fresher mind and try to edit. And that's when the true idea comes out, I think.
Yeah, but by the way, do you use this thing? Because I've used it a bit, but I think you said you are using this. How was that app called? Otta or something like that, which is a very proper voice to text type of software, and you kind of can just go for a walk and actually draft out a whole article or something.
I haven't used it for creating purposes yet, so I'm using mostly for transcribing like conversations I have with clients or something like that. But I heard that a lot of people do it like this, like they, instead of writing this first draft, instead of vomiting it from writing, they vomit it from speaking, and they transcribe it, and then from that transcription is where the draft comes. And that's something that I really want to give it a try, because it could be really interesting. Because maybe, like as you realize right now, we are speaking, and if we transcribe this conversation, we could extract probably like a few valuable pieces of content too. So if you speak maybe with someone else, or maybe by yourself, like just walking your dog and you're just start rambling about stuff, maybe that could be interesting. So that's something that definitely I would like to give it a try.
Yeah, I actually want to embrace this more as well, because one thing that I struggle with writing is that I have quite like, I don't know, the perfectionism is really sitting next to me, and I really struggle to put out like completely word salad, complete garbage. I usually just try to, okay, this tweet, this part of the thread will look like this, and I'm trying to score it right from the beginning, and it's just it's hard. It probably takes way more time, so I don't know, probably I should really take out the dog and do talking.
Yeah,
talking.
definitely. Like that's one thing that I think we all struggle like creatively, like okay, so thinking too much about it when you put it out. So but now, since now I have been writing practically every day for the last almost 2 years, and the thing is like I just put it out, because if I think too much about it, when I write a tweet and I say, okay, this tweet is fine, if I don't tweet it at the moment, I'm probably going to find like 10 other reasons not to tweet it, because this sentence is here, or maybe I should put it like the other way, or so that's the thing. That's the mindset I'm trying to get also when publishing content. Is like, okay, if it feels okay right now, just publish it. Then it's a tweet, the lifespan is short, it's not going to last like decades out there, so just put
Yeah,
it out there.
I think it's especially for Twitter and like, yeah, if you get to that yourself bar where you have, okay, good enough, then probably it makes sense to hit publish, especially on Twitter, because then you'll get feedback. Okay, yeah, this flopped, or people actually resonate with this, and then you can kind of, after a couple of months, you can look at that piece again and you can really improve it with some fresh insights. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, I was going to comment like on the getting on the creative zone more topic. I read this thread that was talking about how Jerry Seinfield, like the comedian writer, writes so his own creative process, and it's super curious because not curious, but I think it's cool to do it. So basically, he locks himself down in a room with a cup of coffee, like a notepad with a bunch of outlines or ideas, like super rough ideas, and he sets like a timer or something like that, and he says, okay, now I have 45 minutes or like an hour to write, and the only thing that he can do during those hours is to write and nothing else. He doesn't get to do anything else, so it's either write or stare at the wall. And apparently, like, the act of staring at the wall and like that's it, it's super helpful for him to get his creative juices flowing. So I think it's very similar to what you said about like the like app that kind of cuts down Twitter and stuff like that. So it's kind of, okay, avoiding all distractions, just the task. And actually, apparently you can get yourself creative if you are left alone with a notepad and like your mind. So that's how he does it. Like, I read it on a thread on Twitter, and it was quite interesting to see. So it's something that I also would probably try someday and be like, okay, today let's lock myself in a room with nothing else than an notepad, or maybe like a computer with no internet access, something like that. So I can just get to writing.
Yeah, I think I've heard this one as well. It's a good one for sure. But I think, like, it sounds so simple, but most people they don't muster up the courage to close that door, and to commit to these weird things and weird rules. But I've heard, like, I think I've heard something similar from Tim Urban as well, who writes the blog Wait But Why. And he said that, I don't know if it's true or not, but he said that he actually logs out his internet router. He goes into another room, he puts it on a super high shelf, then he goes in another room, phone is left in somewhere, some other place, and just like complete crazy rules just to control this monkey mind of ours. But
but the fun thing is that now I read it again because I have it here on my other screen, is that he, like, the second part of this is that he calls it stop the torture. So after this hour of intense focus, he has some sort of prize, that is that there must be an end to this, and at this end there needs to be like some sort of prize or something like that. So it's like, for him, like, writing is kind of torture, and for me I think it's kind of similar. Like, the creative process, it can be painful, like at least like emotionally painful, I think. So it's quite interesting, to see like, okay, this is the torture, but now I get like a quick reward or something like that. So I don't know, like, maybe if you like coffee, it's like a piece, like, cup of coffee, or like a piece of chocolate or something like that. So, like, train your mind to also, like, kind of love this creative process too. So
yeah, writing is tricky. I've most of the time I've heard that writing is hard, and that's why I'm super, happy that I do these visuals, because it's actually it's most of the work is in the brain and just noting down these ideas and just connecting the dots, which is always, it's like if you're working 9 to 5, there's always these brainstorming meetings, where everybody's just throwing around ideas, and like the whole, like at least visual creating process, that's the biggest part of the work. 80% of the work is doing that, and like the remaining 20% is actually putting it on paper. Yeah. Okay. Anything you want to leave people with if they really struggle getting in their creative zone, they feel they are not creative? What's your like single best advice that you would leave people with?
That's tricky. I guess there are a few things. So the first one would be that not to worry too much about the output, or trying to make the output perfect, because like if in your mind it needs to be perfect, it will never be. So that's the thing. So that's the first thing. So don't worry too much about it. Just if it's, as we said, if it's okay for your standard, just drop it, put it out there, and you will come up with another thing, or you can iterate on that idea later. But the good thing about social media is that you can iterate with social inputs, with inputs for people. So it probably makes your idea better. So that could be one thing. And then the second one is probably like do everything that you can to get focused. So it's super hard for me. I'm a like super easy to distract person, but the days that I've worked with, without my phone near me or stuff like that, is the days that I probably get the most work done. So even if it sounds crazy, like the Team Urban thing, like locking your phone in a different room, or like putting like Wi-Fi mode on your, no Wi-Fi, like airplane mode, sorry, on the computer, that are probably cool things that I will try to do too. So that's for me.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if I can kind of summarize my takeaway on this, then not takeaway, but advice to somebody if someone struggles with this, would be like, number one is just tune your awareness up and note down tons of ideas, tons enough ideas, and don't be afraid to steal something, just whatever somebody said, it just take it to yours, twist it, mix it up, do it in your own way. So take a lot of ideas. And the next one, I think it's valuable to make this commitment with yourself. You need to understand where you are in life, how busy you are, and so on, but commit to some sort of schedule that I will produce one piece of content, whatever it is, tweet, thread, writing, blog, visual, video, whatever, every week, every day, every other day. Figure out schedule that might work and just commit to producing something. And when you just create this huge volume of ideas, if you listen to a lot of podcasts and so on and take millions of ideas, you will have this huge backlog, and then you just slowly start. I don't know, that at least worked for me. Whatever. Okay.
I agree.
Okay, that's the episode.
Yep, I think we can wrap it up.
Cool. Okay, see you, Alex.